another episode of Saving Time. This week is a bargain week. Are you kidding me? Double feature, really. First of all, we're making a meat and potato pie. Homemade pastry. I keep trying to work a dessert into our weekly recipes. Never have enough time. We needed to make a meat and potato pie. Why buy the pastry? I'm going to show you how to make it. You're going to be thrilled. Same pastry works for any pie. You're going to have this under your belt. You serve it with green beans because, come on already, right? It's green beans. All of these sales are at no frills. This is a great deal. Lean ground beef, just shy of 1 pound in these packages, $2.97. Are you kidding me? Go and buy as many as you can afford. Stick them in the freezer. That's a great buy. So 1 pound will do us. I got everything we needed. The beans, ground beef, couple potatoes is all we need. Maybe you already have some. We need 1 onion soup mix. I know I don't usually go that way, but on this I do it. It's the best way to do it. I was going to try to pretend I do it a different way for the video, and then I thought, oh, Margo, fess up. For this, I like the onion soup mix. All of this, okay, get ready, $7. $7. All right, what a hoot. Now, I already had some flour for the pastry. Just need a 1/4 cup of butter, 3/4 of a cup of shortening. You can use all shortening if that's what you've got. Go ahead. I like the mix. I mean, this is $7. Wait till you see what we're cooking. Let's start the pastry right now. If you've never made pastry before and you think it's a big deal, you're going to be surprised to find out easy peasy. It's as easy as pie. I mean, that's why they say it, right? It's true. So, biggest thing about pastry is you have to relax, okay? Just know it will come together, and it's easy fixes if it seems to be getting on. I've got 2 level cups of flour in here, just all purpose. I need a little bit of salt, think like a teaspoon, okay? And then we can just give that a little mix. You just want to make sure you don't have all your salt in one clump. I mean, that would be a shame for that bite, wouldn't it? I'm just going to get this and an egg. So we've got butter, shortening. I'll put that right there. That can stay there. This is going to seal up on me. That's why I'm living. I think we're going to be okay for a minute. Okay. So 1/4 cup of butter, 3/4 of a cup of shortening. I use shortening. If lard is what you have, my mom uses lard. I mean, it's to each their own. I always use shortening. I like the mix of the shortening and butter. Again, I wouldn't go all butter. It's not going to flake for you. It'll be. Don't go all butter. Just trust me about that one. It's not going to be as nice a pastry. If you want to do all of one, do all shortening. The butter does give it a good flavor. All I'm doing here is cutting it into slightly smaller pieces for us. Do not soften your shortening and butter. You want it to be cold, okay? So you can, you want it to be in pieces. No mushy butter. Don't take it off your butter dish, okay? Don't do that. You want it hard. And I'm just doing this to make it easier. And then the whole mass goes in here. It's not really a mess, but you know what I meant. I'm kind of excited because I kept wanting to do pies and stuff like that, and it's not feasible when I'm sticking with our 1 hour. So I think I used this when we did biscuits. So it's my pastry blender. 2 knives will do the trick, just like karate chop style, if that's what you've got. And you're just gonna keep cutting in your butter and shortening until it looks crumbly. I mean, some people say like oatmeal, that's gonna bounce and make noise. We don't need that in our lives. And it's, some people say till it looks like oats. I don't know that it looks like oats. You just don't want any big pieces left. And you want it to be relatively uniform. It's not hard. It might get some muscles if you did this a lot. And the thing about pastry too is we're going to use both crusts for this recipe. Just every now and again you might have to clean that out. We're going to use both crusts. This will make enough for 1 2-crust pie. But if you were wanting to do, you know, say a beautiful lemon meringue pie or something like that, you've got the 2 crusts, wrap the second one up, wrap it up in some cellophane and then double wrap it in some foil. It'll keep in the fridge for at least a week, or you can stick it in the freezer and leave it there and then just thaw it out in the fridge when you're ready to make another pie. You can, of course, double up the recipe and make more pies all at once. Sometimes I find when I make a larger batch, you have to work it more. And somehow it changes the overall texture. So I like to work 2 crusts at a time. That said, I've certainly, as much as, I mean, I've done pies where I've got 20 cups of flour going. And because I've got a lot of something that I want to look after and just get put away. So just know that when you double it or triple it or whatever, it does change the overall feel of the pastry. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm just gonna clean this thing out so that we don't waste any. And then Shannon will get a shot of how it looks in the bowl so that you can see. But look, like honestly, this is like we're cruising on the pastry here. This is truly how easy pastry is. I'm not even making it up. There, and I got a plate here, so we'll just do that. So, hello, right? Dead easy, dead easy. Next thing, I got it. You need ice water, okay? So before you start making pastry, put some water into a glass or something just to get it going. Got a compost bowl, and you can see I'm snacking before we started. I've got my orange peel in there. 1 egg. And then you can get rid of that. Give it a little break up. I always just get a little bowl out to start. And sometimes, you know, if it spills, it's going to go in here ultimately. So if it's going to spill out of the bowl, I just assume it's spilled into the bowl. We're not making omelets, we're just making sure that it's broken up. Okay, now here, this is me at my absolute cheapest. Really, I've lost my mind. We need a tablespoon of vinegar. You know when you get takeout and they always give you the packets? Guess what? It is the exact right amount. Shannon is laughing. She can't even believe I'm admitting it. But I keep them because it is the exact right amount for pastry, and I make a lot of pastry. They always give you so many, and you don't really need that many, and sometimes none at all. So that is she's laughing because she can't believe. I know it's weird that I'm even admitting it, right? It's enough that I do it. To admit it is a whole new level of me being cheap. I don't mind. It's thrifty. Mix it in. Not all pastry recipes call for vinegar. I've tried a lot of different ways. Trust me on this one. This is my favorite way to make pastry. It's flaky, it's delicious, everyone likes it. My brother-in-law says he'd eat an empty pie shell. There you go. 2 tablespoons of iced water. You don't need to get carried away if your tablespoon seems short or over or whatever. It's water. You want 2 tablespoons as a goal. Has to be ice water. Like the cold. You want it cold, otherwise it's just going to turn into a goopy, soft, like bread dough, not pastry dough. You need that cold. Mix it in, dump it in, try not to waste any. Of course, break my heart. Just use that same fork. All you're doing now is just pushing it around. You're getting everything wet. You want it to be uniform. And just, you can use the back of the fork and try to collect it, the dry bits, and push them around. And then we're about to get our jewelry dirty. You know, I've told you about pastry and all that. It's in your rings. If you can take them off, now's the time to do it. I'm not even going to try. It would take me longer to get the rings off than it's going to make the pie. Can you imagine? We've almost made pastry. It truly is that simple. Honestly, I mean, for the sake of this recipe, if you want to buy a frozen pie crust, by all means. Like if this is feeling like more than you want to do, but I really think that this is not that hard. It really isn't. And it's not even that messy, right? Like it's not, we're not going to have a disaster in the kitchen because we make pastry. It's easy. Easy, easy, easy. And aren't you already thinking about all the pies you could make? And peaches are in. Hello, peach pie, right? and I mean anything and everything. You can't help yourself. Speaking of peach pie, add some blueberries. Trust me on the blueberries. Peach blueberry. Do it. You'll never, you will not think, I wish you'd never steered me that way. Okay? You're gonna be so happy. Peach blueberry. What grows together goes together, right? Scrape it all up. Now, get yourself a piece of saran wrap or something of the sort ready. And this is where we're gonna put our hands in. We're gonna form it into a nice dough. And you can see, like, look, it's getting a Play-Doh-like feel to it, which is what you want. Sorry, that's my watch dinging on the bowl every time. Sorry, it's our little bell. I'm sorry, that's funny. And you can see how I'm just gathering. I'm not so much kneading it. It's not like bread dough that we have to knead it. I'm just gathering it. I just want it to form into one nice tidy ball of dough. And then, look at that, right? We just made pastry. So simple, honestly, please. Don't fall prey to the pie crusts that are expensive, and they're not. You're gonna know how delicious homemade pastry is when you do this. And this is 2 cups of flour. I mean, what are we in, a quarter on 2 cups of flour and a little bit of salt, 1 egg, butter, and I mean maybe $3, I don't know, if. And for the better flavor and everything, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Once you get it into one big piece, because we want, as I said, this makes 2 crusts, you don't have to weigh it or get carried away, just visually cut it in half, okay? Just don't knock yourself out about it. If something happened that your pastry felt too dry and it wasn't coming together in a ball, if it was like crumbling away, what you need to do is throw in another tablespoon of water, try again. On the other hand, if this was like sticking to your hands and feeling like plaster, or I don't even know what, like goopy, if it was feeling really messy, a little bit more flour, just toss some of it. And go like a tablespoon or 2 at a time, okay? You can't take it away once you put it in, so better to add a little at a time. Nice disc, okay? Just like that. And then your second disc, it feels like Play-Doh a little bit, a little denser than Play-Doh. I'm trying to help you figure out if yours is right. Denser than Play-Doh, but it's got that same compact feeling, okay? It should feel tight in your hands. Like a baseball almost, right? Like it feels solid. Well, you can hear that. That's solid, right? It's there's no goopiness in that. There we go. Cover them up. You don't want the air to get them. That's why we're going to cover it up, okay? The air will dry it out, right? We don't want it to dry out. Wrap them up. I'm going to make a mess of the fridge, and I'm not going to worry. And into the fridge they go. That's that. Pastry's made. Let me wash my hands. I put water in the sink so that I wouldn't waste too much of our time. There we go. I'm just getting my hands clean. But you know what? It's nice because it's all that butter and shortening. My hands are going to be great. They're not going to be nearly so rough and dry from the garden. There, all cleaned up. And that's pastry. How about that? Did you know it was that easy, or did you think it was going to be a bigger deal? And I know, will try to forgive me about the whole nonsense with the vinegar. I know I'm ridiculous. I know that about myself. I'm just getting these things out of the way, Shannon, so that we've got a clean space to cook. Next, so there's our pastry. Next, we're going to start our meat and potato pie. In order to be sure the potato part is cooked in the time that the meat cooks, we're going to parboil the potatoes. Parboiling potatoes is not difficult. It is just a quick boil. That's all we're doing, a quick boil, no big deal. Basically, we're gonna put, if you imagine our pie plate, we're gonna have a layer of potatoes on top of the meat in there. 2 potatoes is gonna be all you're gonna need to pull it off. So, first up, peel your potato. You don't want peel in there for this. It wouldn't be great. It would be a little too farmhouse. So just, now these potatoes, I just bought a couple. Good chance you've got a couple. And then use any variety. It doesn't matter, red, yellow, white, russets. Use whatever you've got. Any 2 good sized potatoes. And, that's kind of stuck there. Okay, so just the 2 potatoes, we're gonna slice them nice and thin and then parboil them. And the parboil just, it starts the cooking process to make sure that they're going to cook in the time we give them in the oven. And you can, I mean, parboiling works for a lot in the way of potatoes. Say you were doing like our oven fries or something like that, and you wanted them to cook up faster. If you parboil those fries after you cut them first, you can probably take like 10-15 minutes off the bake time. So anytime you want to do that, go ahead. Once they're parboiled, you can set them in like an airtight bowl in the fridge, and they'll be fine in the fridge for 1 or 2 days. So it's kind of a good thing to do ahead if you want it to be fast in the kitchen for whatever reason later in the day, or you didn't want to have to prep as much. You could get your potatoes ready in the morning, and then quick and easy. There, that's it. Look at our compost bowl. We've got my orange, an egg, and now a little bit of potato. This is so easy, this meal. All I have in this pot is some water, and I salted it already. Now we want slices. So I think what I'm going to do is make my life easier and do the half cut, and then it sits flat on the cutting board, and that's much nicer for me. And I'm doing relatively thin slices. We want to be able to eat and cut our meat and potato pie. If the slices are too thick, it's going to make it hard to slice the pie later. And as long as they're relatively uniform, that's all we're aiming for here. So this meat and potato pie recipe, I got the recipe from my brother-in-law. I think I changed it a little bit. I don't think I make it exactly the way he did. And that's the beauty of recipes. We should always mess around with them a little bit to suit how our family enjoys things, how we like making them. It's just, recipes are starting points, right? They're where we begin. They're where we get the basics of this is how much of something or how long we need to cook it, that kind of thing. The rest of it, you should feel comfortable messing around a little bit. Go with what you've got in the house, right? And this, easy, easy, easy. I love this. This is kind of the meal I make when I want to do something that's going to be satisfying, fill everybody up, but at the same time not cause me too much hard work. And look, you can see it's not causing anybody hard work. There's that. Now, got my cloth wet here because my hands are all starchy now. Okay, I'm going to get these potatoes on the stove and set to boil. I'm going to tidy up a little bit. We'll come back. I'm just going to get them, bring them to a boil. I'll be back before they're boiling. Okay, I've got the potatoes on high. I'm just bringing them to a boil. Actually, I just saw a little bubble. Once they're at a boil, I'll turn it down to keep it at a low boil. 5 minutes is all it takes. 5 minutes is what it's going to take us to get the meat filling ready. And then we're going to be like this rock and roll, right? This is moving quick. So no frills. I mean, once again, No Frills comes through, donates all this food for us. We get to pay this meal forward to a family in town, and they're going to be thrilled. Are you kidding me, right? So we've got ground beef here, lean ground beef even. Are you kidding me? Like $2.97. Honestly, like what a buy! What a great buy. And the styrofoam is, you know, breaking my heart, but whatever. We're gonna suck it up on that one. A little bit of salt and pepper in here, okay? Not much salt because that onion soup mix has some. So think like, I don't know, quarter, half a teaspoon. Go ahead and do a good teaspoon of pepper. Pepper and the onion soup mix go together nicely, I think. Don't be shy about the pepper. A little bit of thyme. If you have fresh thyme, for heaven's sakes, use it. I forgot to bring any today. I'm sort of, you know what else I did, honestly? I wanted to bring a glass pie plate for the pie because they bake better in a glass plate. I forgot it and I asked my husband and he helped me out. Wasn't that nice? He brought one by for me. So that's good. The bottom crust bakes better in a glass pie plate. So just for future reference. I wrote on here 3 tablespoons of onion soup mix because if you buy yours like in bulk or something like that, then that's what you're looking for. I can tell you right now that we could measure this out and it would be just about 3 tablespoons. I don't feel like it. I feel pretty confident. We can go 1, 2, 3. I feel really good about it. Just dump that in. And there we go. And I know, right? This is one of the few things where I can't do better. It comes out nice that way. Just break up your beef a little bit and get your seasoning mixed through. It's just starting. Sometimes it's easier to do things like this with your hands if you just want to reach in there. The other thing we need to add to it is half a cup of milk, which I have measured in here. Our potatoes are okay. Half a cup of milk. I'm just going to check my pot. It's fine. I feel like I got pepper or something, or maybe when I dumped the onion soup mix, something kind of was in my mouth there. So half a cup of milk all in there. Just like that. And now mix it up. We're just going to make sure that everything is combined. Just keep turning it over. Sometimes that's the easiest, is to just use the folding action, right? And just keep pushing it around. Just gonna keep blending until you don't see really, really red meat anymore, right? And I mean, truth told, you could make this same meat pie and use ground chicken or ground pork or turkey, right? Any ground meat will do. I think meat pie would be amazing with veal, but veal, the price point, right? My goodness, it's hard to talk myself into veal. Veal would be lovely, but I'd pick something. If you use chicken or turkey, you might want to add, I'm tempted to say you're going to want to add a little bit of fat to it. Of course, your pastry has a lot. Now you can see at first it looked downright soupy because of the milk, but you can see how the beef now is absorbing all of that milk and it's coming away from the sides. That's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Honestly, what a meal. Too easy. We're done with. How are our potatoes doing? Just getting ready to come to a full boil there. Almost. We can start rolling pastry. Why wouldn't we? We might as well. So I'll get this out of my way. And got my flour, rolling pin. I didn't mind this rolling pin when I used it here, so I decided to run with it. Right? I just, oh yeah, like I would have remembered the rolling pin and forgotten the pie plate. Maybe it wasn't my day for remembering these things. We'll pretend that I know what I'm doing when I leave home in the morning. I'm sorry, I keep looking over my shoulder because I'm thinking about the pot. It's just coming to a boil now. And I'm going to pay attention to the time because for the parboil, I want, those were sliced pretty thin. We don't want to cook them. We just want to start them. 5 minutes is all they're going to take out of the oil. No more. I just want one of these to start. If one looks slightly bigger than the other, use the bigger one for your bottom crust because it's got to come up the sides, right? Put the other one back in the fridge. We want to keep them cold. It's just coming to a boil. I'll pay attention. Or Shannon can see. She's going to like tell me if I've got any incident forming behind me, but I think it's all right. Put not too much flour on your table, but some, right? I mean, we don't want it to stick, but we don't want to add flour. So usually what I do is push it down, and now we've got some on the other side. Some people sprinkle more. I think then we're adding a lot of flour, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab this cloth and know that I'm going to wish for it a million times over. This is out of boil now, so I'm going to turn it back just a little bit. I want it to keep boiling, but not much. There, that should be okay. a little bit lower. Okay. I'm looking at the time. I'm going to pay attention for our 5-minute mark for that. Start by more pressing the pastry down than actually rolling it. Get it started, okay? Don't dive in and go crazy right at the get-go. Give it a fair chance to start. My pot's getting pretty excited. We'll turn it down a little bit more. There, I feel pretty comfortable with it there. You'll see. Shannon will tell me. What you can do is flip it. Well, you can still pick it up easily in your hand, give it a little flip. If that feels like it's sticky, push it around, okay? It's not going to get less sticky. We'll give it a little shot more. There. Yeah, the thing to remember is there's no reason to think it's going to self-correct. It's not. Okay, you're going to look after it. You're in charge. And give it a roll out. So think like a clock, okay? So you do your 12 and your 6, your 3 and your 9, and then start going in angles. That knife was bouncing. Start going in angles, and check every now and again. Just run your fingers under it. How's my pot? My pot's great. My pot's fantastic. And another little shake. This is close. Here's what my goal is. So the bottom of my pie plate is slightly smaller diameter than the top of my pie plate, but I need the height of my sides. I find if I roll it to the diameter of the top, then I get a pretty good fit. I'm looking and I'm remembering I buttered that pie plate. This is, you don't want it to stick. That would be a disaster. I don't butter it for everything, but for meat pie, I always butter the pie plate. And just keep going like spokes on a wheel or like the hands on a clock, whatever way you want to look at it, just keep it going until we're approaching large enough. Look at that. I am on watching that pot behind me. You can tell I'm a mom, eyes in the back of my head, right? And a tick. Mums of boys, I was convinced, right? Oh, you can spot the mother of little boys because we develop ticks. Nerves, bad nerves, little boys, wow. Don't get me wrong, love little boys, just holy mackerel, what a ride. That's looking just about like the right size. Yeah, see how it's gonna fit? You can see my pie plate, like it's at least the width, the diameter of the dish. So, I'm gonna grab, I've got this nice little spatula here. You can use a butter knife or something. This was handy for me. Just loosen it. Loosen it around. I'm worried about the potatoes. And then, if you pick up one side, I always think, wouldn't it be a shame if it didn't work when we're on camera? And I mean, stuff happens. If you kind of do this, it's a way to lift it up and then let it fall into the plate. And give it a little push around so it's centered. I can see that I've got 2 spots that are lower. You can take a little tear and repair to, I mean, no one's gonna know. And anyway, what they know is that they got pastry in every bite. Just if one spot seems low. There. That is going to be ready to go. You know what? I need to preheat the oven. I'm faster than I was thinking I was. I had this one warmed up pretty good already. So 350, okay? 350. It's going to be ready when we are. This oven is really like I wish I had one like that at home. I'll tell you that, because it's fast. Sometimes I'm standing around at home waiting for mine to preheat and getting irritated. So, well, you can imagine. This is still good, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and drain these. That can go off. Our handy spoon worked. It's a little bit hot. Those candles get hot. So I'm not going to burn myself. I've got a colander in the sink ready. hot dog. Whew. I know I've got a spoon over here. I've got a couple stuck in the bottom of the pot that I want to get. I don't want to waste them. There. Put that right there. Okay. Give them a shake. That's going to be okay. No, I'm not going to stick that back in the salt now. It'll stick and I'll have a mess on my hands. Okay, now, top crust. Look at how fast we are. Here it is. Same game. Okay, we're just the exact same thing. We're just going to spread it, get it rolled out, and then we're going to build our pie. Easy peasy. And the pie itself is in the oven for an hour. Okay, so 1 hour in the oven. Our green beans we're going to put in for the last 20 minutes, next to nothing. I've told you before, we've got a little camp and we had the door open, so it's we'll just close it. They're going out to play, I think, and so kids are noisy. Huh? That's what they do best. And just same thing, right? We're just rolling out this pastry, getting it going on. Flip. If you see it splitting on the edges anywhere, just before you start rolling again, give it a little repair job. Just this is not a machine. This is people with their hands. Okay, so don't if the edges aren't perfectly round, it's because you're human. And nobody had a little computer program to make sure it came out the exact same thickness all the way across, and so it's the beauty of homemade. I knit and crochet and stuff like that, and if I make a mistake, I don't go back and tear things out. I would say if you wanted it perfect, maybe you should have bought it. If you want handmade, then it comes with all my flaws, right? It means at that moment I answered the phone or I got up to do something, who knows what. And then we don't always remember where we left off. This is starting to look wide enough. I'm just going to make sure that it's not getting, whoops, I made a tear. Whoopsie. That's okay. Because the thing about pastry is you can repair tears. Easy, you can repair tears. I'm kind of, on one hand I just said it's nice when things go right on camera, but it's also kind of nice when things don't go exactly right, because then you see how to fix a pretty common little mishap. It's not even a mistake, it's just what happens. That's great. That's going to be great. Now we'll just get rid of some of my flour here so that it's not all over the bottom of the pie plate. Bottom crust is in. We're going to add the milk. The meat. We're adding the meat. There's milk in there, but we're adding the meat. And just dump it in to start. Try not to waste too much, but at the same time, we won't get too weird. Yeah, my famous last words, right? I don't think I have another cutlery here, so I'm going to get my hands dirty and then give them a rinse. There. Now, look at this. Isn't that, see how nice and thick it is? And I know when I put the milk in, it kind of looked like, oh, this is a soupy mess. Not. Look at how nice that is. So, just spread it around, try to make it even, right? Take that bit off. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna get that last bit, and then I'm gonna cut it out. I'm gonna wash my hands quick. And then we're gonna add cheese and potatoes. And the cheese, I had some on hand. You only need half a cup, so I'm hoping that you also have that little scrappy bit of cheese that we need for this. It's not a big deal, so hopefully you also have some on hand. I don't even remember what we made last that I had this from. I don't remember. We're both thinking here. Can't remember. I buy it, it hangs around. Now half a cup, so you think, I mean, that's a little under a quarter. So we'll do we'll do another little bit. right? Does that make sense? Tiny bit more. There, okay? So we're doing a little bit there, and then I need to get those potatoes. And I'm gonna switch them out. I'll use this plate. I'm grabbing a plate because they're going to be dripping still maybe, and I don't want a puddle. I don't want to make a puddle. Now, these could be hot. I'm gonna check. If they're too hot, use a fork. They're okay. And just lay them in. Some could be hotter than others. Shannon sees a fork for me so that I don't, unnecessarily burn myself. And just I make like just circles around. And then if you've got little small pieces at some point, we can tuck them in. At the end, we can just work with it. I'm gonna go ahead and let my fingers be a little bit hot. Oh, they're steaming. There. Okay, I won't burn you know what? I don't want to get all in a funk about it if I burn myself, because you don't need to watch me do that. So just keep laying them around in circles. We're going to have lots here, and they should be just like, I can just put the fork into them, and that's the parboiling, right? Like I can just put I need resistance. They're not like crumbling under the fork. They're just, I can. Whoops. And then we'll put a little bit more cheese on top of the potatoes. And then we'll put our top crust on, and we're almost done. So for making homemade pastry, I mean, really, how much faster could this meal have gone? Like we, again, I mean, obviously you can buy pie crust, but really, this was not hard work. We've done it pretty fast. And now I'm just filling in these gaps, and I'm gonna just let my fingers get hot. I don't feel like messing around with the fork anymore. I don't want to. I just want to get it all in there. We might have more than we need. So I think try to cover up all the spots that you can, but I've got a couple of extra potatoes in here that I think I'm going to just say I can live with letting them go. The one potato that we used was particularly big, so there you go. There's all your potato. Now we'll do a little bit more cheese again. My hands have been on those. I don't want to get the cheese wet or it won't keep nicely. So I put about a quarter of a cup there on the counter, and then my hands aren't going in the bag again. Again, just sprinkle it over. I mean, the cheese, you could make this without the cheese, but in my experience, people like cheese. People like cheese. So why not? It's just a little tiny bit, but if you wanted to make this and you found yourself without any, don't go, well, I can't make that. Just make it without the cheese. Don't throw in the towel on it, okay? So here, evidently there's a holy Dinah, right? Evidently the house rules for marbles. There has to be a little bit of a slope there. And I'm just loosening this. We're gonna, there. Now, feels like it's stuck a little. That's a bit of a drag, but I'm gonna try not to let it get me down. Okay, there. It did a little, but it's not a big deal. Set it on, unroll it, push it around if it's not quite centered, and now pinch the edges, okay? Now, if you were using frozen crusts, then you would take the second one in the package and put it on upside down, right? Does that make sense, to make your lid? So just so you know if you're doing it that way. Just reach down in and try to pinch those crusts, and if you hit a spot that feels shy, just tap in. We're gonna have a few little scrappy bits, so we can do that. Look at this. See how nice this came together? So nice. Don't waste any. It's there and it's going to be delicious. So fill in your gaps, and if you can, this makes this is a very filling meal. So there's all that. I'm gonna wipe my hands again. Last thing we have to do is just put some, score the top to make some steam vents, okay? So just with the tip of your knife, just cut it. Sometimes if I want to make sure I'm going to get a certain number of pieces of pie at the table, then I kind of score it in the way I imagine it being cut at the table. But you can do whatever you want, and even some people use like a cookie cutter to make the cuts in. Just do whatever works for you, okay? I'm going to do a basic cross. I'd like to get 8 pieces, so I'm going to go like that and that. There we go, done. As easy as pie. Honestly, we just made a homemade pie. Smart, right? Smart and simple. Now, pie is notorious. Homemade pastry can make a terrible mess in your oven. I usually just do that, and then I'm going to set it in the oven on that piece of oil, and it'll catch some of the drips, not all of it. I don't feel like I can open this oven one-handed all the time, not while I'm holding something, so to be safe. Here we go. Put it in the bottom third of your oven so that the bottom crust bakes, okay? You want to get it closer to the element. I'm going to set it to one side because we're going to add the beans. Okay, there it is, it's in there. Set your timer for 45 minutes because when there's 15 minutes left on the bake, that's when we want to put the beans in. Let's take a break, clean up, we'll come back in a bit. Hi there, welcome back. In about 5 minutes, the timer's going to go at the 45-minute mark, and that's what we want. So right now we're going to get our beans ready, and just like before, I think we did these last week, just tip and tail them, right? Have you heard that expression before, tip and tail? So you're just taking the ends off. I'm going to leave them long. When we boiled them, I think I did some of them in half, but I don't feel the need to do that this time because we're going to roast them, and so they'll cook no matter what. We can probably do 2 at a time. So all we're doing, I think we've done beans in the oven before. I put the oven on, I figured why not, right? I mean, the oven's on, why would we bother getting a pot out on the stove or something? It's not worth it. So we're just going to, as I said, I'm just gonna go one at a time, it's faster ultimately. Tip and tail them, and then a little bit of salt and pepper and a couple tablespoons of oil over the top, and into the oven for 20 minutes is gonna do it. And what we're gonna do, we've got 15 left on the oven, but our meat pie really does need to sit for about 5 minutes before we slice it. And that's true of just about any pie. You need it to have an opportunity to kind of set itself. It's gonna come out of the oven, it's really hot. It's gonna be all loosey-goosey, right? So we wanna let it sit for a few minutes before we try cutting it. These beans are nice. Ontario, I think they were right around $2 a pound. I've got right around a pound here. Maybe a little over a pound, but regardless, when you pick up your beans, I always just kind of, again, in handfuls, think about how many people I want to feed. And as I'm scooping them up in the grocery store, I'm thinking about that, and kind of doing that's 1 person, that's 2 people, and imagine it on the plates. It's just, and you know who you're feeding, right? 1 person adult is different than a 3-year-old at the table, right? Like a 3-year-old's gonna have only a couple. So, just like the asparagus, let the beans guide. They're gonna break off where they need to. They've got good snap, so that's nice. My beans at home in the garden are not quite ready. I want them to get a little bit bigger. So I haven't cut any there yet. Cucumbers like crazy. Holy mackerel. A lot of cucumbers. And what else is coming up? The tomatoes aren't quite there yet this year. They're usually there by now, but they're not, they just aren't ripening up yet. Zucchinis are good. I've got way too many eggplant in the house. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna make eggplant parmesan and then freeze some of it. And at least that'll use the eggplant while it's fresh. I can't freeze eggplant by itself. But I haven't noticed eggplant on it as a good buy in the grocery store yet, but if I do, then I'll point it out that week. And then in case you're inspired and want to make eggplant parmesan for the freezer, I love it. I absolutely love it. Wouldn't do for our show here though, but that one didn't feel great. Wouldn't do for the purpose of our show. I can't get it start it and finished in an hour. It's a bigger enterprise, which is why if you make it, making a bunch at a time and freezing some is a good idea. Then you only spend the time once. And you got a ready meal to go. And it's fancy, right? Eggplant Parmesan. It makes you sound like a big deal. And it's not that hard, it is just a little messing around in the kitchen. I keep thinking how now that we've talked about and showing how to make pie crust, I've just been in my mind thinking of all the recipes we can do in the future by just keeping some pastry made in the fridge or freezer so that we can grab it when we need to and do all sorts of fun things, whether it's desserts or other meat pies or quiche, all sorts of things, right? Yum. And it's nice, and whenever you've got time to put some in the freezer, that's what I do. If I've got a little bit of time in a Saturday afternoon or something, and if I find myself home alone in the evening, I just make some and put it in the freezer, and then it's there when I want to do something. And I don't have to put in as much time. This is a good mess of beans. Now, they're in 20 minutes. I mean, we're roasting them. If they're a little more or a little less, it's not going to make a difference. The oven's just at 350, so it's not a tragedy if they're more or less. A little bit of oil, any kind of oil will do. Salt, pepper. If you wanted to put something else on them, you could, but with the meat pie, I think it's plenty flavored and we don't need to get carried away. So I wouldn't bother, but you can certainly add any other seasoning you'd like to. Maybe some sage. With the thyme in the meat pie, some sage would be okay. There we go. Now, look at our compost. That's coming back to us as the garden next year. Right? There it is. That's for fall gardening. Come on, we can still get another round of cauliflower in. So, spread your beans out. Looks like I soon need to buy another bottle of oil. Getting low. You don't use much at a time, but I guess we, a tablespoon at a time here and there. Let's give a little drizzle. I think I marked on there 2 tablespoons. I don't think I used that much. Maybe 1. And I'm going to put it on my hand so I can sprinkle it. And then some pepper. If you have a pepper grinder and can go fresh ground pepper, even better on the beans, right? That would be even nicer. Just give them a little spin there. But beans benefit from that. Okay, let's see how we are for time. 20 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and call it off. Now we're going to set this for 15 minutes because in 15 minutes we want to take the meat pie out. These will go for another 5. And here we are. Set that there. That pie is coming up beautiful. Like it's browning up really nice. There we go. I'll see you in 15 minutes. Hey, timer just went. I'm leaving the beans in for a few more minutes. We're going to take our pie out. This looks amazing. It's really hot in the oven. Look at how nice this looks. Look at your beautiful pastry. Hello. Look at that. That's amazing. So what I want to have happen is I want that to sit for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes so that we can slice it nicely. We're going to leave it for 5. I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and then we'll take the beans out and be ready to plate. See you in a minute. Okay, as you can see, I've got everything out of the oven, and I've plated up a portion for us. Look at how nice this pie is. And see, look at the beautiful pastry. Oh my gosh, you're in for a treat. The beans look beautiful. Everything's come together. Shannon, just show them how nice the pie is in the plate. And you can see I cut, remember the vents, and I said I'll use them as my guide for cutting, and that's exactly what I did. Slices out beautifully. Don't forget, let it sit for a minute, okay? Because even this one, the top crust was sliding a little bit because the cheese is hot underneath and the cheese is sliding on the potato. So, beautiful meal for what we spent at the grocery store. Don't forget, these deals at No Frills this week, they'll go until August 11th, next Wednesday. And this comes in at $2 a plate. $2 a plate. Unbelievable. That's our best deal yet, I think. I don't know if we've done one for less. This is beautiful. Quit letting food eat up your time and money. This is nice. Make sure that you like the video when you watch it. This is homemade pastry. Like the video. Subscribe. and hit the little notification bell so that every week you know exactly when a new video comes up. Beautiful food we're making here, and we're doing it on a budget, and we're doing it without spending a ton of time in the kitchen. Bon appetit, enjoy your dinner.